joining me.
Hey, George. Not a problem.
Cool. So I just first wanted to ask you, what got you into building synths?
I thought it would be a cheaper way of kind of getting into more analog gear and stuff, and I guess I had at the time like some cheap digital Korg stuff, so like the Electrives, and I think maybe at that point the Marco Korg, and I was like, well, if I had some, analog gear, that would make my music so much better. And
did it?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it. I don't know if it made the music better or if I just got better at music as I went along. But it wasn't cheaper at all. Like the commonly sold like promise is that if you DIY it will be cheaper, and the amount of kind of mistakes and misfortunes you'll have, it just completely wipes out any.
Yeah, I agree. I've been there. I now pay people to build stuff for me.
There you go.
But obviously it worked out for you.
Yeah.
Why?
I think I just stuck at it, and I kind of had the mentality as to like, especially looking at the modular gear, can I offer the market something that is maybe a bit more off the wall and a bit different, and that not necessarily someone else is doing, or at least a different take on something that's a bit of a classic or whatever. So I don't know, I like to think that like my own designs and stuff are a bit quirky and a bit eccentric and kind of not what you might expect from something, but yeah.
So now you run Future Sound Systems as a business.
Yeah.
How do you find that?
It's kind of crazy. So I guess Future Sound Systems has been my full-time thing for about 2.5 years now. I never ever thought that within 5 years it would be a full-time thing. Now it pays the rent, it pays the bills, and it's crazy. I mean, the whole Eurorat phenomenon is just like totally exploded, and it's great. It's amazing that people are willing to jump into this stuff and spend not only money but also actually a lot of time and effort kind of learning how to use this stuff.
One of the modules that I'm particularly excited about is the Matrix switcher here.
Yes, yeah.
What inspired you to come up with that?
So that was actually quite an interesting story. I was looking into ways of making more like standalone synths, patchable. So I wanted to kind of move away from jack sockets simply because they're quite expensive, and they don't necessarily give you the flexibility that you actually want half the time.
Right.
So, for example, on this Matrix, I can take any of these inputs and route them to any of the outputs, but also mix things and split things any number of ways. You can't mix just with jack cables. You can't do that. It's not a thing you can do. So this allows me to do all of that on the fly. In this setup, I'm actually using this to take all of the sequencing and stuff out to all of like the synth voices and stuff across the modular. And what the Matrix actually allows me to do, on the simplest of levels, it just allows me to kind of switch things in and out in terms of gates and triggers. On more complex stuff, it allows me to like bring sequences together and do all these weird like merging and mixing things with sequences and control signals that you wouldn't necessarily do using just jack leads. It's been really successful. People really like it, and kind of actually going more into this kind of live stuff myself, I can completely see why, because it is really it just works as like this live intuitive performance thing where you can turn things on and off really easily. So
sure.
Yeah.
So back to your kit. What's cool here? I mean, this is what you're playing with live?
Yeah. So, kind of to the left here, we've got a few bits of like battery-operated gear and stuff. So this is like a little sequencer. This is a drum machine. This is a little bass synth that I picked up earlier this week. And perhaps most importantly, this is a radio. So just a standard Roberts multi-band radio thing. that's like all the sequencing there is just getting piped into the matrix, and the matrix goes off and pretty much controls all of it's mainly these mutable instruments braids modules, which are essentially like synths within their own right.
Amazing.
I guess the other thing to say is that I'm then using the mutable clouds over here and the Harvestman Time Safari to do weird stuff with my voice. So that's all there. And I can then that's kind of clouds. So it does all of this weird kind of granular stuff. But then I've also got the Time Safari here. This might be quite noisy.
That's all right.
Let's see what it's doing. Oh, it's actually not too bad at all. So this is essentially kind of like an echo unit, but it lets me do looping and stuff like that, and looping and stuff like me do looping and stuff like me do looping and stuff like me do and it's all under voltage control as well, so I can have that completely like automated and modulated completely rhythmically from all the sequencing and stuff like that. So all of the kind of like clustered vocal atmosphere glitchy stuff, that all comes from those two modules, and they're just absolutely fantastic together. This stuff is always changing. I mean, like I've just put this thing in from Dan Valbeck, which is an absolutely disgustingly crunchy wave folder.
Let's hear it.
So that is this thing at the moment, and it's all a bit crazy. And I'm not actually modulating anything there, but everything can be modulated. So you have this like real ability to just completely blast any, quite sedate synth, any like signal really, just to absolute mush with this evil gritty mush. Also, this dope for BBD unit. It's just bonkers. I mean, it does.
Let's hear it.
Just does ridiculous.
So this is just in. Is this in feedback?
Yeah, this is just self-oscillating now, and it's just. Oh god, it's like you really kind of don't really know what's going to happen. If I just give it some signal off here. Can really send it into territory that, I mean, that's great. There you go. That's stuff that you just don't really expect a delay to do.
So what was it about these chips that made this kind of sound so bonkers? Why were they so imperfect?
It's kind of the whole BBD thing is kind of crazy. It's essentially like a clocked analog system. So you've got this very analog sound, and you've got this like nice warmth to it if you want to use it quite traditionally, I guess.
Yeah.
So most like analog delay pedals will use BBDs, but then if you start screwing around the way with that analog like clocking is being done,
sure, then
it takes it into kind of the realm of like lo-fi digital stuff. So that's kind of what you're hearing there when it starts to, we go from this nice, you can hear that now, you've got loads of crunch on there.
It's very musical.
Yeah, it is, and it's like you can do all this lovely feedback stuff as well.
That's great.
Just turn it into, that's just feeding back now. That's feeding back now.
Where can it go next? Like what could be the next thing?
The most interesting place the modular can go now is integrations. So say if I had a drummer and he or she could be sending me clock through maybe a hi-hat, and doing stuff like that. So we actually did some stuff like that with Tony Allen and Jimmy Tanner at Cafe Otto with the Sound Lab. and I mean, it was crazy. It was a couple of mad shows, but I think one of the like resounding things that we got from reviews and stuff was like the bass lines are really tight with Tony Allen's kick drum. It's like, well, yeah, because Tony's actually playing the bass line. I'm really intrigued to see, hopefully, more people using modular synthesis connected to other instruments and other players.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even, you know, doing the whole solenoid thing and triggering drums from this and stuff like that. I mean, it's still essentially a solo thing then, but then you can have guitarists and stuff play around with you. You're an indie band, but you've got a load of synthesis backup. So
also interacting with air in the room and real instruments and just the stuff that sounds good and looks good.